What's good? What's good? Greetings, greetings, greetings. Wednesday into this fire horse initiation. I assume y'all passed the test. It's good to see all of you. Listen, I was speaking with a colleague earlier, and he was going on about tarot cards, and he was real fascinated with how those systems work and how things just seem to like his life was like a little pop-up book that we look at as children, and everything was coming to light, and he's just, long story short, he's just been binging tarot like crazy, you know what I mean. And if you're a tarot reader and you really are, as my previous mentor used to say, honest to your work, good for you. Congratulations. And that's not some sarcastic jab. I mean, I respect that. I, of course, understand the systems. And for a brief period of time, I, would help people with their journeys concerning that. And I'm not entirely close to it. I do have a great respect for the system. But when I say the system, I mean the aspects, the pathways within tarot. Because as most seasoned readers will tell you, that's simply all they are. When you start go looking for absolute truth, that's when you start getting into deep waters, you know what I mean? And before you know it, everything, it can really drive you crazy. And that's where I want to take the rest of these 8 minutes, if you don't mind. I was just going to go through a basic concept of what tarot represents. And I was going to take a pro and con approach. And I'm going to just do 3 of each. Before I get to that, though, so the Moors, right, who went into Europe and did what they did, they were, it's not a historical video, but it was more than just, we taught you how to bathe, and we taught you how to walk upright, and taught you how to use, forks and spoons. That, again, you'll see, like, once you study history, everything is a pyramid. You know what I'm saying? It's like the movie National Treasure. Of course, it's very sanitized and family friendly, but when his dad kept saying, when Nick Cage's father in the movie kept saying, it's a clue, maybe another clue, maybe another clue, it wasn't meant to be funny, nor was it meant to be that serious. It was one of those, like, quick, like, obviously he was talking about their tangible treasure hunt, but in another aspect, shall we say, in the shadow aspect of that line, just another clue, is talking about layers of a pyramid. I'll make a separate video on that. So I say that to say the Moors brought aspects of alchemy too. So when you talk about spirits, and, obviously the ABC store, things like that, these are all extensions of Moorish influence. And if you celebrate that, that's cool. If you don't care, that's cool. If you think I'm lying, that's cool. I don't. It's not. It's not an emotional delivery. It's just a fact. They brought these conventions into Europe, and along with that would be the concept of recreation, what we call games or sport. So, whereas in other places you might have had hoop ball or, kind of your rudiments of basketball being set up. I'm thinking like Mesoamerica. You also had games that were being shown around the world to other people. So playing cards are kind of the, like I said, family-friendly essence of tarot. Even though we know they're not tarot cards, they represent the same seed of divination. But they've just been so watered down into these games and money and gambling and all that. Nonetheless, so my friend with tarot, and I haven't even told him this yet, but I wanted to share it with you guys. I would say the first pro is it gives you, so freaking corny, it unlocks your chance for an open mind, right? If you don't go through the world thinking of people, like, I'll give you an example with these archetypes. So, like, if you don't see people as emperors or empresses or, kings or queens, if you can't divorce what you already know, if you can't, like, disengage from that conscious element, because that's really what tarot is supposed to represent. It's supposed to represent a emanation from you consciously, and you're divining out to receive symbolic messages. That's kind of the essence of what it is. Alright, so a pro is it can unlock your chance for an open mind, and if your mind is already open or whatnot, then it could be more awake. So it can give you insight. The second pro of tarot reading, I would say, is that depends on your personality and, of course, your belief system, but it gives you kind of a respect for what we would call coincidence, right? And this is a shaky one because, just an analogy, those people who don't go, like, they go through life basically picture perfect, no drugs, not one beer, they might have had a girlfriend or boyfriend in high school, and maybe they just, like, they're real straight-laced, is what I should say. And then when they get in college or even older, they hit their first J or whatever it is, and I mean, it's like they're a kid in a candy store. People who are so, like, used to that validation with, tarot and stuff, it can give you, like, how should I word this? So our first point was it can unlock you open mind, and it gives you more respect for, like, symbolic happenings in your life, right? But I think the biggest distortion with that, which I'll talk about in the cons real briefly, is, you start mixing the two worlds, quite literally. The third pro of tarot reading is that, I'd just say introspection, especially if you fully understand and you're not looking at it from a rather profane, kind of like, tell me what I want to hear type of, that sort of thing. So on to the other side of the coin, which is a little more interesting. Tarot can actually cause you to manifest things that you don't want. And I'm not saying that in the cheesy, crystal sense. Like I'm just this spiritual bad boy and I got all the answers. No. However, I do know the more you hear things, the more you, almost like a camera or a computer, you keep hearing it, which is essentially in a computer, you keep uploading it, or downloading it, you keep it so part of your program. Like, let's say you love when people get theirs, or you have this weird, God, I love Heath Ledger's line from The Dark Knight, right? Misplaced sense of self-righteousness. You think you're the shit, and you may be. But I'm saying you project that where you should just learn how to really win and just observe. And so you just go on this, like, karma video binge, right? What did they do to them? How are they going to get me back? And males and females do this, I often went to tarot readings, you hear a lot of the ladies say, they assume their audience is mostly female, which it probably is. I'm just keeping it real. But, guys getting into this spiritual element, it feels some type of void they have going on. I'm not sure what that's about. And so they're just super invested in these karma and revenge videos. And I'll be honest, pretty soon you'll get into a kind of disturbing rut with yourself because, you're still living, breathing, eating, doing whatever you do, hobbies and so forth, occupation, but you're like constantly thinking about these karma videos. You feel me? And it's distorting and, in layman's terms, blocking potential blessings from coming in. And think about it, if you don't correct that, every new person you meet, whether they're a colleague, a lover even, it could be a boss, it could be somebody who comes back around who you forgot all about, some random person on the street. If they wrong you, you're always going to be on some karma video, like you're going to try to engage that more and more and more and more. And you might fall off. You might be karma'd out, that shit. It can affect you, if you're hurt, I don't know you personally, so I don't want to be brash, but find ways to get that out of your system. The grudges, the resentment I'm talking. I'm guilty of it too, but find a way to at least try to start getting that out. All right. Binging karma videos by yourself and, chugging beer is not going to bring forth somebody's downfall faster. Alright, and the last con for this segment, it's more or less a piggyback. It distorts your reality. Right? And this is, especially people, if you've been heartbroken or it can't understand why it happened. And again, I'm not picking on the ladies, but, these pools of fantasy that you want answered, and there's somebody out there, whether you find them physically attractive or you enjoy their voice or their temperament, you feel like they're like your coach. They're guiding you through this thing. They're holding the torch. And again, like, so many things could be lining up for you and aligning. But because you just binge tarot, and even if you're a tarot reader, I had a buddy back in the day. He saw a tarot deck in my car. We were hanging out, producing music and stuff. And he told me about this girl he knew that she used to read tarot. And then after some time, she did a reading on herself. And she, and I was like, does everybody subscribe to like that misfortune? But no, people have their superstitions and all that. I don't think tarot cards are dangerous. I really don't, not intrinsically anyway. But again, when you start combining it with concepts like instant gratification, what's it called? Hive mentality, echo chamber, that's what it is. This type of, I'm going to hear what I want to hear. She or, he still, wants to be my friend, or that job sucked even though I got myself out of it, you know what I'm saying? Or I knew when I saw a hawk at 12 o'clock that Aaliyah's song was going to come on. You start just connecting everything for the sake of not connecting. Problem is, your ego will tell you that you are connecting it, but if you sustain that pattern for years, people make fun of people who do psychedelics. I'll end it with this: I'm not advocating that. All right, but in a way, if you're distorting your reality day to day, sure, you're not eating this or whatever method they got these days, but you're still distorting your reality. You're just doing it in a more polished, pedestrian way. So be mindful of tarot. Again, who am I to say what anybody can do or what you should be careful with the cards? It's none of my business. You can do what you want to do, but don't be like my buddy who got his heart broke and now he's binging karma videos and he's found a particular female reader, I won't state her name, that he enjoys, and he's just like, you know what I mean? It's like a video game with him. Just a little rant on tarot cards and their function in our society today.